Next hour and 20 minutes. We've got just a few extra minutes. Thank you for coming here because we have a lot to do. We're going to be splitting you into patrols, which is a fun thing, and but we're going to be talking about some other things, kind of as a course overview of what we're doing. Can I just mention a couple of things, and that is sometimes you may feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, but a number of years ago, I had a visit from Hugh Pinnock when I was a young stake president. Really, I was doing my best, but he said, Charles, he says, if you do everything every general authority tells you to do, you're going to be going this way every 6 months and this way every 6 months, and you'll never get anything done. So he said, I'm your area president, and if you're going to obey anybody, it ought to be me. But he says, I'm not going to ask you to do that. He said, I want you to just take notes during this stake conference time. This was a Saturday, it was just the two of us in this meeting. And he says, as we talk, you take notes, and then Tuesday, after I'm gone, you come back to your office and look at your notes and identify 2 or 3 things that will help move the work of the Lord along in the direction of your vision. And so I would just suggest to you that you take careful notes. You have a syllabus, and use that syllabus, have that in front of you. This is your note-taking. If you want an additional note-taking journal, we've got some small journals, and Mike will have that where you could just purchase that. They're just small Vanguard journals, but I would just encourage you to use, can I use this just come up? There's plenty of note space in here. We've got the outlines, brief outlines of each of the presentations. But if you could just put all of those things and maybe just put a highlight of if you hear something that you think that could really help my unit. Some of you may remember Richard L. Evans, who was a member of the Council of the 12 and who did the music of the spoken word for years. I was just reading in his biography, and he read voraciously, but he also sped read. He taught his boys that there are so many books in this world that don't have time to even begin to read them all, and you should only spend time reading the very best. So what he did, he would speed read. He'd skim through books, and he said, sometimes I felt like if I could just get one good idea from a book, it was well worth it. I have to tell you, there are certain books that you read where you don't want to skim. I just finished reading Les Miserables, all 1,467 pages. I didn't want to miss a page. So my wife said, you really should read the condensed version, but I wanted to read all of this stuff. There are some books that touch your soul because you read because of what they are. Your progress is like this mountain climber. Now some days it'll go like this, some days it's a little slower. But you know, it's one step, one idea at a time. And I will tell you, just because one idea works for someone may not work for your unit. But that's okay, because every unit is different, and one day, all of us, slow or fast, will reach the top. And that's what we want to help you to be able to do today and during this week, is to be able to have you, we're going to be sharing ideas. You've got a wonderful faculty that we introduced the other day who will be able to help all of us to be able to share. Our role is to help you share ideas. You'll get a list at the end of the day or at the end of the week with all of the participants. So Lynn, if you want to find something, if you have something that Jimmy, where's Jimmy Jones, right over here, said, and think, I want to get back and be able to follow up on that, you'll have contact information, phone numbers, emails, and whatever else. We will have an opportunity for you to look at your email list later today to make sure that emails are right, phone numbers are right. A couple of quick things. You also have the World Foundation Fund. This is just part of Philmont. This is our way to be able to help scouts across the world. You know, when it really comes down to it, every one of us in this room are extremely wealthy when it comes to the rest of the world. We found that out when we went to the World Scout Jamboree in Japan. And number one, before the Scouts had even started, the end of the typhoon came through and destroyed a number of tents. And so the BSA stepped in, we brought extra tents and provided tents for them. But at the end, all of our tents were donated to the rest of the world. We didn't bring them home. And you can't, I have to tell you that Janine Halverson, who was the executive director of the international office, she was like Mother Teresa. She was there handing all of these out, and people had come from Africa and from other parts of the world because they don't have this. And so this allows them to have tents and cots and other things. That's what this is. And so I'd encourage you to give generously, and I'm just going to put this up here. I'd encourage you, if you have some change, just put it in there. If you don't have change, after COVID, many of us ended up not carrying change anymore. If I looked at my wallet, I'm a dime. But I'm going to go over to the trading post because there's an ATM over there. And I'm going to get a 20 and I'm going to put it in there. But however much, it doesn't matter whether it's $1 or $5 or 10 or 20 or whatever else. If you want to give a $1,000 bill, that's great. But whatever, this is to help scouting across the world. You better be watching. You are so great, Mike. Thank you.
What service?
That's right. I know. That's right. We take care of each other. Okay. That's been in my pocket all morning and did nothing. But with a little hot air, which is good for a lawyer, and a little skill, I was able to make something that is pretty pleasing. And at least make somebody smile. And so Lyle, would you come on up here? We're going to take just a few minutes and have you tell us so that we can be responsive to you. So Lyle, time is yours. And Mike, could you grab if you grab a pen here and then.
And I want you to know that I share some characteristics with Rochelle. Time means nothing.
Mike, I'll get you a pen.
Because is this on?
Yeah, now.
During her presentation, her husband was elbowing me saying, "That's my wife, that's my wife." Okay, how many of you remember when we had the Century of Honor presentation at the conference center? And I was fortunate enough to be there in the congregation. And when it was over, I was surprised by the number of professional scouts, and these were those in the national office, that came to me and said, "This was so wonderful. Thank you for reminding us about why we're involved in scouting." They had been through, probably a decade of dealing with membership issues and a lot of really tough stuff that weighs you down, and they just appreciated remembering what scouting was all about. I had that same feeling last night. I came here to get my batteries recharged. I'm on the national board. I sit on the finance committee. We meet often, and we talk about the financial condition of scouting while we're trying to come out of bankruptcy. And it weighs you down. It is really overwhelming. But when I sat in the arena last night and I watched the young people up on the stage performing, and I saw people of different gender and people of different color and people of different ethnicity, and they were just doing good, wholesome stuff. And I thought, that's what I want my kids and my grandkids to be doing, the type of things I was witnessing on the stage that night. So that's why I'm here. It pains me to think that we won't have a scouting opportunity for all of the young men and young women in the LDS church. I guess we still have the opportunity. That's why we exist. That's why Charles kind of brainstormed this outfit that we're involved in. But it's not as easy as it was in years past where they were just automatically registered as scouts and automatically in the program. So I'm here to get my battery recharged, number one. Are you keeping score over there?
Ready?
Okay. I'm here to get my battery recharged. To be reminded of why scouting is important. And secondly, I want to know how we collectively, all of us in this room, can do a better job at making the transition from what was church scouting now into community scouting. So we provide a means for people to have this experience that I witnessed last week.
Can you tell me what you're here for? What do you want to take away? Please, Paul.
I came here to learn from people who are experienced than me how to best serve my scouts.
Okay, best practices, okay? Okay, other things. Please, Michael.
How to find and build truths from the local areas that, you had the ready-made
Right.
unit and meeting house. How we can take the scouting program and still utilize it in the wards, youth activities, because over my years, it's been a great opportunity to build young men and young women, to have that, the principles of scouting interjected in their lives beyond their understanding.
Good comment, thank you.
I think it was Brother Knight who said that Philmont is a place of revelation. I'm looking forward to receiving revelation in my duties as scouting, and
Thank you, Robin, that is really good. That's really important,
I
as
like
you
that.
write. Gary.
Trying to figure out how to reach out, because I'm in such a large LDS population, reach out to those families, those boys, those girls, and bring them back and get them involved,
Okay.
because they saw what a benefit it was before.
Right.
How to recruit and motivate adult leadership.
Okay, great. Okay, other thoughts? Yeah. Okay, Trevor?
Yeah, my goal is to help arm the participants with the information they need to go back and influence other members of the church to see the goodness in scouting and want to come back into it.
Thank you. Other things you want to learn? Okay, before we turn the time over to Roma, Gary? Oh, yes, please, Lynn.
Just because I still feel there seems to be a gap between women knowing information and men receiving information. And I need a lot of help to be able to get to those bishops and so forth.
Okay.
To really encourage them.
Okay, getting stake presence. Okay. Gary, could you do yours in 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. Gary Dollar has a very important thought, and then we're going to turn the time over to Roma Bishop. Gary?
Many of you know about these global ties, and probably the person that started, his name is Bill Birch. Bill's family, they lived on a farm, and his dad was an incredible sheep herder in the state of Utah. But when Bill was young, it was very important for his dad to teach their sibling large family how to work the farm. And so there was always a 2-acre parcel that was dedicated to the family, and often different crops were grown there. And Bill remembers that his dad was sitting down one evening and reading the newspaper, and the newspaper said that Utah State had just come up with a brand new sweet corn hybrid. And so he says, Stella, why don't you write them and get just enough for our 2 acres? So she did that. But a little bit of the history before that, that fall, the family took some cattle to the state fair in competitions and stuff like that. Groomed them up, made them look really nice. But that wasn't what Bill loved to do. He went into where the vegetable were and the art. And he saw this beautiful 4x8 sheet of plywood that had glued seeds everywhere, all different types of seeds, and corns and you know, pumpkin seeds and peas and everything else, in a mural that was just absolutely gorgeous. Had mountains with white peaks on it, a beautiful blue sky, just absolutely stunning. Fields, you know, meadows and animals and everything else. And he admired that thing for so long. And then on the side were these clusters of Indian corn, which he had never seen before. And so he stood there, and when the guide was started at the end of the week to start to pull things down, he noticed Bill admired him and said, "Would you like an ear or two of that corn?" He says, "Oh boy, would I." So he gave Bill some. He took that home. He stuffed it in a couple socks, put it in the bottom of the sock drawer so his mom wouldn't see it. And then he just dreamed about what he was going to do with that. And then he remembered when the seed got there for the 2 acres, he thought, "Oh, this is going to be great." And all winter long, he was thinking about, okay, I'm going to be so happy to go water that, because he knew this field was going to get the very best care. He was excited to go weed, you know, those rows of corn and everything else. And so that spring, when they planted, once Dad was done and the family was done, he went upstairs, took that sock out, took just a few of the seeds of corn, and went out to the field way out on the corner, on the outside of it, near the ditch, just away from everything. Figured this is going to be great. And so through the summer, everything was great. Finally, at the end of the summer, all of a sudden, he heard his dad, as he was milking the cow, he heard his dad scream, "Bill! Bill!" And it knocked over the bucket, the cow jumped. He looked out, saw his dad out there, went running out to his dad in the middle of the field. "Bill, what did you do? Bill, what did you..." "Oh, I didn't do anything, Dad, I didn't do anything." "Bill, what did you do?" I didn't do anything. And he opens up one of those beautiful kernels of corn that was supposed to be the most nice corn ever, and this is what he found. Bill didn't realize that this little tiny bumblebee would come in, hit the outside of the field first, and everywhere that bumblebee would go, it would drop. Just a little bit of dust that it picked up from that beautiful Indian corn. It had changed that corn into something absolutely beautiful. What can a well-trained leader do in the life of the boy every time he touches and makes a difference? Can you, my friends, be that bumblebee? Can you make that difference, that everywhere you go, you live and your life, but also leave behind, like that bumblebee did, something beautiful? On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and to my country, to help others at all times. Can you be that bumblebee? Can you make a difference, changing the lives of those that you will serve?
One of the ways to do that, before I turn the time to Roma, who are the control leaders? Okay. Let me give you this, because each of you will have, when you leave here, not just some notes that you can look at and identify 2 or 3 things, but you will have a ticket. Now, for those of you that have been to Wood Badge, you know what a ticket is. We're going to have you identify during this week those things that you can do for your assignment going forward. We're not going to spend any more time with this. We're going to turn the time over to Roma and Roma, whoever else, whether it's Wayne or whoever. And but if you just now keep thinking, this is the way that we're going to make the difference that Gary talked about, is
not just by learning this week, by taking it with us, having a ticket over the next 6 months or a year or so. Roma? I'm sure.
Well, I just wanted to tell you personally what a great joy it is for Wayne and me to be here and to put faces with the names that we've looked at on lists for the last several months, and we're so glad you're here. And you're ready for a break, which you are going to get. Wayne and I started a pack and a troop in Pleasanton, California a couple of years ago. As we were recruiting for our pack, there was one little boy I thought would be a wonderful Cub Scout, and I talked to his mother, and she said, he's just really not interested. Kids have told him Cub Scouts isn't fun. I said, well, if there's any way you can encourage him to come, I think we can break that mold, because we're really fun. And so I just want to tell you, this week, we're going to be talking and we'll be interjecting little ideas and things, because in order to maintain and keep these youth interested, it has to be fun. So what I was going to have you do, I'm going to pass these out. This is a little game that is super fun for Cub Scouts. Scouts love it. Adults love it even more, I think. But anyway, take one of these. It's a marble racer game. I don't know if you've ever done them, but I'll put half here and half over here. So you've got 3 on your sheet. This gives you enough to cut out one while you're here this week. We've got scissors. We've got marbles. I think we'll just kind of do it later. But Wayne's going to demonstrate what you do with them. So you'll take your sheet. You'll cut out one of those that looks like that. Don't cut through all the lines. Cut it out so it looks like this. Then those lines are on there so that you fold them to straight lines. This way, again, and again. So these 2 little narrow ones are tabs now that kind of overlap in the middle. So you're going to eyeball that and make it so it's square and put a piece of tape on here. Like that. Everybody with me? Okay. Then you're going to fold one end up like this, drop in a marble, one marble. This is kind of like Mexican jumping beans. If you haven't seen this before, it's super fun. I can tell, Mary Jane, you've seen this.
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I'm
haven't you?
delighted.
And then the last flap comes over and tapes it right there. So what you have is a little long oval, whatever. And Wayne, I think we've got a table set up back here. We've got 3 or 4 marble racers made. It's just time for your break, because we're going to start back here in 20 minutes. But as you walk to your break, walk by the little marble table and race a marble. Anyway, we're going to have a lot of fun this week. Great to be with you. Enjoy your marble racers. I'll put all these back there. They'll just be around this week if you want to come in at a break and build yourself a marble racer. Okay, thanks. Charles.
Everybody stand up.